So here we're going to have two officers arriving in the same vehicle.
Drop it.
So as soon as they get out, they're presented with a man with a bat.
Drop the bat.
So they've got pistols
Drop the
out.
bat.
Now, one thing I would like to point out here is we both got our pistols out, which is fine. We do have a man armed with a deadly weapon. However, right now we're in a terrible crossfire situation. If our suspect here decides that he wants to start advancing at the officer, swinging the bat at the officer, and Officer 1 here decides he wants to take a shot, Officer number 2 here is completely in his line of fire. So Officer number 2 here has his pistol down in a nice stool position. I'd like to see Officer number 2 right here book it this direction to get out of his line of fire. Either that, or I would prefer Officer number 1 here to be moving laterally so that he's over here on this side. That'd probably be the most preferential, seeing as how you have to also be considering everything in your backstop, your arc of fire here. I'd prefer to situate myself on this side of the suspect. That way, if I do start shooting, my rounds are going this way, hopefully into the brick building, rather than out into parking lots and moving traffic.
Drop the bat. Sir,
So
drop the bat.
we stay here in this bad crossfire situation for a second. Officer number 2 pulls out the taser. So totally fine. Gonna have someone with less lethal. We do fix our crossfire positioning
Sir,
there.
drop the bat.
Now, one thing that I don't understand is, for a second here, no one has a lethal out, no one has less lethal out. Officer number 2 decides that he's going to switch from less lethal to lethal, and Officer number 1 is deciding that he wants to switch from lethal to less lethal. It's not really communicated between the two of them. I'm not really sure why they're deciding to switch roles at this point. Officer number 1 seems like he's kind of been primary, so he's had the lethal out. Let's just keep it that way and have Officer number 2 here being less lethal.
Drop the bat. Drop the bat.
So we also see here that we've told this guy multiple times to stop
He's walking
and
away
drop
from
the
us.
bat. He's obviously not going to do that, which means at this point
drop
we
the
need to
bat.
figure out another way to get him into custody. One thing I am not as big a fan of here is Officer number 2 is moving in between the suspect here and this building, moving this direction. Again, got to be cognizant of, if things pop off and you have to start shooting right now, where are you going to be shooting towards? I'd much prefer Officer number 2 here to move around to this side. That way, if he starts shooting, those rounds are going to be going in this direction towards this building rather than towards all of this traffic.
Hey. Sir, drop the bat.
So now we're moving up for a taser deployment. Taser's deployed, does not hit him. Looks like it may have caught him. But one thing that I really don't like here is Officer number 1 yells over to Officer number 2, "Hey, get your taser out." If Officer number 2, if you're lethal, you're lethal. I'm not getting my taser out until someone else has lethal. So if you ever find yourself in this situation, don't get bullied by another officer into getting your taser out if you're not ready to get your taser out. If you see this guy as a deadly threat and you want to have your pistol pointed at him, have your pistol pointed at him. But don't allow another officer to dictate to you what you need to do in that situation. Your taser didn't work, that's fine. I'm going to stay here with my pistol out, at least until you get your pistol out, and then maybe I'll transition over.
Try it. Drop the bat, sir.
Officer number 2 had a good shot there on his side for a second, but he's using that bag to cover him up pretty well.
Taser deployed. Sir, please drop the bat. Drop the bat. Don't reach in your pocket.
Good job here on Officer number 1. We've finally got set up in a nice V position with the suspect here, Officer 1 and 2 on either side. So Officer number 2 right now, he cannot see what's going on with his right hand. Officer number 1 can clearly see his right hand. He was digging in his pocket. Good job telling him to get his hands out. Last thing we want is him pulling out a pistol or something like that in the middle of this fiasco already.
Don't reach in your pocket. Don't reach in your pocket. Drop the bat, sir. Sir, drop the bat. Drop the bat, sir.
We start to get ourselves in a crossfire situation again. Officer number 1 does tell him, hey, get out of there.
Drop the bat. Drop the bat, sir. Sir, drop the bat.
Drop the bat, drop the bat, drop the bat. But you can see right here in a second,
Sir, please.
he's about to pick up these bags with his right hand. He's got the bat held by the middle and 2 bags in his left hand. We've walked half a block with this guy. I think at this point we should have realized that telling this guy to stop and drop the bat is not going to work. We've done a taser deployment. It did not work. This is one of those times where unfortunately you're just going to have to get your hands a little bit dirty. Right now, we've been holding our taser out, but we're refusing to take a shot for whatever reason. Maybe we feel like we don't have a good shot. But right now, yes, he does have a deadly weapon, but at his current state, he's not using it as one. So now would be an excellent time as he picks up these bags and he's barely holding on to the bat for officer number 2 to just come in here and tackle him and get him on the ground and away from the bat.
Sir, please. Sir, drop the bat.
Again, we're just going to do the drop the bat, drop the bat, drop the bat
Drop
game.
the bat, sir. Sir, drop the bat. Sir, drop the bat.
So again here, he's got that same sort of situation. Bags in both hands, bat off to the side. Now would be a great time to move in for an arrest. Again here, we've got a not good situation of crossfire. Once again, we're literally all standing in a line, so we don't like to see that.
Sir, drop the bat.
Here he's picked up a chunk of concrete,
Sir, drop the bat.
which again, that's another deadly weapon that could get used against him.
Drop the bat, sir. Sir, drop the bat.
So now we have our first taser deployment from officer number 2. It's ineffective. As soon as that taser deployment goes off, I would reposition and try and get that other one to come off. Again, we've been here for 3 minutes. We're going to have to do something other than just tell him to drop the bat. So taser deployment number 2, taser doesn't work. At this point, that taser's not going to do anything for you. That's your drive stunning. So I would put that away and get ready to go hands-on.
Drop the bat.
So here we do see the suspect raising the rock and moving towards officer number 1, at which point he decides to take shots.
Medical attention, let's go.
Alright, so good job realizing that we need to get in and do some medical attention. Officer number 2's got handcuffs here.
Give her updated location, Morton Hammer, please. My
And
radio's
this
not
is one
working.
thing that I get frustrated with is let's get the guy into custody before telling dispatch exactly where we are. Take the extra few seconds to make sure that we've got him secured, and then we can let people know what's going on. Now, officer number 3 showing up. Go ahead and turn off your siren as soon as possible because it's just adding to the chaos of the situation.
It's just him. Nobody's hit, it's just him. Nobody else is injured. We need to provide medical attention to him.
Okay. Nobody else is hit? Is he?
No, I need we need to cut it off so we can see where he's shot.
Okay.
So, time to expose the wounds. Good job, so we can see exactly where he's shot. But I would prefer not to be using a knife to cut off clothes and backpacks and such. You should have a pair of trauma shears with you for this situation. Nothing cuts off clothes better than trauma shears, and you're much less likely to stab the patient using trauma shears as opposed to jamming your knife into his clothes to try and cut them off. Anytime I see someone cutting clothes off with a knife, it just makes me cringe.
My fucking radio's not working, dude.
The arm? Looks like the... that's the acronym there. Yeah. Right.
So we do get a pair of trauma shears there to help start cutting clothes off.
Come on, buddy, you'll be okay.
So if you guys would please hop down in the comments, tell me what you think they did right, what they did wrong, and how you would have done anything differently. Hopefully you guys can learn something from this video. We'll see you in the next one.